Coach Greg and the Pittsburgh Pro just took place. Now, I never in a million years would have predicted exactly what went down. And so let's start off with the Nick Walker showdown against Derek. And so going into this competition, I thought Derek had it by a mile, that no one would be even close. But to my surprise, Nick Walker, he actually brought it. He was at his all-time best, and he made it a very close battle. And how close? Well, Nick actually beat Derek in the morning show, in the pre-judging, but at the finals, it flip-flopped. And so the net score, it was a tie. And so essentially they did a tiebreaker. No one announced there was a tiebreaker. My opinion is that ties should be broken at the evening show. And so whoever looked better at night, then that person should be the victor. But in the end, they decided to go with Derek. Now, many people actually had Nick Walker winning the competition. And in fact, about 85% of the people polled felt that Nick was the champion. Myself, I had Derek in first. Now, you might be saying why? Well, there's a couple of reasons. First off, I prefer Derek's shape. He looks better as a bodybuilder than Nick. Nick has the more of the freak factor, the size, a little bit taller, a little bit bigger. But Derek has the smaller waist and has that X-frame. Remember, it was a very close battle, and so for people to say that Nick was robbed, you're going too far. It literally was a tie, and so robbed is when somebody won by so much that it's absolutely ridiculous to think that that could happen. And so if anyone other than Nick or Derek had won, that would have been a rob. Imagine if Martin Fitzwater had ended up in first place. People would have said, how did that happen? But it was a close battle, and so it could have been anyone's game. Now, some people brought up the fact of politics. Could politics have taken place? Maybe a little bit. Do y'all remember a certain Nick Walker that didn't compete last year, kind of pulled out at the last minute? I can't compete. And so if you're a bodybuilding judge and you're trying to be impartial, you're not trying to be biased, but you got Derek who's literally won an Olympia, he's won an Arnold, and he's showing up at the Pittsburgh for almost no reason. He doesn't have to qualify. And so for no reason, other than just being the great champion that he is, that he wants to do the competition, says, I'm gonna do it. In comparison, you have Nick who hasn't competed in Olympia for 2 consecutive years. And so who are you kind of rooting for? If you had to pick one, the guy who's always trying, who's a great representation of the sport, or the guy who never showed up last year? And so if it's really close, as in a tie, you tend to give it to the guy that maybe he tried harder for it.
I did have Nick Walker winning this show 100% at pre-judging. Like, I thought it was undisputed, he would have won, but it was a split decision. And then at the night show, not only did Nick come back better, but Derek came back light years better, where his legs actually didn't look small anymore to me. And in the beginning of the night show, I did actually have Nick in first place yet again. As the night show was going on, which this is the final comparisons that they're doing right now, I had them going almost 50-50 on the shots. And as time was progressing, I had Derek probably winning the majority of the shots. But overall, I think it was close enough that I personally still had Nick in first place. However, the judging and the scorecards aligned to what I saw, which they had Derek slightly ahead, meaning all the judges didn't agree with these decisions, by the way. So that's what happened.
Now, others would say it's a greater Cinderella story if Nick should win. I'll give you that. It also makes it more interesting to say that, hey, if Nick beat Derek, then who's the favorite for the Olympia next year? Now, regardless if he beat him or not, it was a tie. Nick is all of a sudden in a 4-way battle for first place at the Olympia. Never would have thought this was possible, but it actually is currently on the table. And so look for an exciting Olympia. Who is going to win it? Is it going to be Hadi Chopin, Samson Dota, Nick Walker, or Derek Lundsford? Now, let's turn over to classic physique, my favorite category. And so going into this competition, I feel it was Terrence Ruffin's show to lose. Of all the competitors, many people saying, hey, Terrence is in fact a threat to win the Mr. Olympia. And I'm thinking, no, he isn't. It's Mike Sommerfeld. Mike Sommerfeld against the field. I'm taking Mike Sommerfeld. And in showing up, he made drastic improvements, but remember this, so did everyone else. And so it came down to a battle between Jose from Spain and Terrence Ruffin. Terrence is a much better poser. And so if it's close, you got to go with Terrence, and it was very close. 1 point separated the two. Now, they only judge in the morning, and so they didn't judge at night, and so the score was 7-8. That's a 1 point victory. That's how close this was. But I think an even more interesting story is Anton Antipov, who got 6th place in his first show as a pro at the age of 20. I mean, the fact that he has that much muscle, that he's that good, this young, it's mind-blowing. Now, personally, I think he's too good for his age. I think he should be natural. I think he's using too much PDs to look that good this young. But hey, it's bodybuilding and you're allowed to take what you want. And so you gotta think in your head, is there anyone that could ever beat Mike Sommerfeld? And I'm thinking, I don't think so. But eventually, could Anton Antipov win the Mr. Olympia? I think that he can. This guy looks ridiculous. His legs in particular have amazing development, conditioning, and so on. I think with a little bit more muscle in his back, perhaps in his arms, that if he just continues to grow slowly, that he eventually could win the Olympia. And so many people thinking, well, who's gonna battle it out for the Olympia? And so at the Olympia, I believe that Mike Sommerfeld has got it in the bag. And in second place, I kind of feel like Terrence Ruffin could sneak in to second place. And in third place, I do believe it's going to be Urs Kalasensky, the Miracle Bear. And placing after him, I do believe it's going to be Jose, followed by Logan Franklin. And notice there was no Ramon Dino. I don't think Ramon Dino makes the top 5 at this year's Mr. Olympia. I believe he's had his time to shine, and there are younger people coming that are even better than Ramon Dino. As great as he was in the past, I don't believe he's going to get any better, and I think his placings are going to slowly go down from here. And as I always do every time I talk about classic physique, I wish the IFBB would add in classic physique light. We need another category where it's not just a group of bodybuilders. The guys who are competing in classic physique have so much muscle you wouldn't believe it. For example, Anton Antipov is 6th place, and why? He's not big enough. I mean, have you seen this physique? It's not big enough. How big do we have to be? And so when you hear the word not big enough, what do you think you're going to do as an athlete? If you guess get bigger, then you're correct. Now, how do you think that's going to be? If you guess by training harder than last time, you're wrong. It's from taking more steroids. You thought just training would do that? To get big enough to win in men's classic physique. You're thinking, no, classic physique, that's the attainable category. Open bodybuilders, those are the big guys. Urs is 270 in the offseason shredded. These are ginormous individuals, and I would love to see a classic physique division for guys that want to be just a little bit smaller. Let's call it 20 pounds smaller. It's still enormous. And so by adding in this category, the IFBB would giving the athletes the choice to perhaps be natural or to use less performance-enhancing drug. As it stands right now, do they actually have a choice? Well, I suppose you could say yes. If they choose to lose and get last place, they could go natural, show up at the Olympia with 20 pounds less muscle than everyone else and place where they may. But if they give them an opportunity to compete fairly against other people who are a lot smaller, then they won't need to take all those products in order to get the physique that they need. And so imagine a competition where guys are all 20 pounds smaller. They're still going to be massive. They're still going to be huge. In comparison to the average person, they will still be massive, and they'll also have the Greek god aesthetics. They will have impressive physiques that all men could dream of having. I believe that there is a huge untapped potential in the IFBB by adding in this category. Many athletes would aspire to compete in this smaller category, and so why not do so? And while you're at it, get rid of the 212. Why do we have the 212? Who wins the 212? Keon Pearson. He's gonna win it every year. And do you know what? If there was no 212 category, what would he have to do? He would compete in the open. And why shouldn't he? Would he not beat the majority of men in men's open? And so why have this category? 212 just means you gotta be shorter than last time. It's essentially a class for the short kings. Now, Mike Sommerfeld, I do believe he's so good, and I believe he can make 212 pounds. I believe he's the only one that could challenge Keon Pearson. But you don't think that Mike Sommerfeld and Keon Pearson, if they were to compete in open, they would be able to challenge many of the open class competitors. And so by adding in Classic Physique Light, the competitors, they can use Turk Builder Max. Turk Builder Max. You'll be able to stop taking whatever you're taking, probably Tren, mostly the Tren, stop the Tren, and instead take Turk Builder Max. And if you want Turk Builder Max, it's probably sold out right now, and so go to the website, click the link in the description. Also, we have a VIP section. VIP, you get an SMS. It's a text message, and before it goes in stock, you get notified 3 hours before it actually gets listed. Remember, it's from Uzbekistan, not the copycat plant from China, and tens of thousands of people are rebuying it, and so get the supplement that everyone's been talking about. And don't forget to save by using code Greg for 15% off. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost out them, like the video if you liked it. If you didn't like it, write a comment saying why you didn't like it. And don't forget, I've partnered with Transcend. If you want to get your blood work done, if you need to get peptides, if you need to get HRT, you can apply through Transcend. And until next time, I am out. Urs Kalesensky, the miracle bird. Urs Kalesensky, the miracle bird. Why do I say bird every single time?